Yo, what's good? It's your man, 100 Grand, Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today, I wanted to do a part two for a video that I did earlier on why the NBA draft and NBA salary cap is destroying the NBA. Well, this is part two, and I'm going to be real with y'all. Part two is about to get real into it. Because not only is it destroying the integrity of the NBA, it's exposing just how far the NBA has to go in terms of still dealing with racism and discrimination. If you like this video, smash the like button, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. The reason why I want to do this video is because I had a great conversation with a really, cool dude that I met. Really great guy. He's a professor over at UC Berkeley. And we got into this conversation about the whole Robert Sarver situation. And from that conversation, we began talking about just the level of anti-blackness that the NBA still has to deal with. And I referenced the video that I did. He also subscribes, and hopefully he gets a chance to hear this video. And he began to share with me some of the things that I knew intellectually, but when he began to say it, it just really began to unfold in a way that just made it clear that I needed to be a little bit more explicit about how the salary cap and the draft is destroying the integrity of the game. You see, anti-blackness is this sentiment that black people somehow inherently deserve less rights, less access to resources, are somehow legitimized in being reduced to not having the full access of citizenship, of humanity that the rest of our society is given. Now, why do you feel like I'm diving into this right now? Well, one, Robert Sarver is somebody who just epitomizes anti-blackness, right? The fact that somebody can say, hey, please stop saying the N-word, and you look them dead in the eye and say N-word, 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 N-word on multiple occasions, right? And the fact that Robert Sarver has been a NBA commissioner for so long. I think governor is the new term instead of owner, because we all know where that comes from, right? Real problematic old white guy calling himself an owner of a predominantly black team, right? But it's to say that people knew about Robert Sarver for years. They knew about the things he would say, the things he would do, like this disgusting character, his level of entitlement, this absurd way in which he was doing business around his organization that was limiting his team's winning potential, right? The whole Joe Johnson fiasco, catastrophe, really, that probably cost him a championship back during the Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire era. But it's to say that yet he was able to remain a team governor this entire time. How long was Donald Sterling a team governor throughout his lifetime, despite multiple accusations, lawsuits against him, right? So this whole situation has kind of kicked up all that sediment at the bottom of the well for the NBA. But looking at this more recent topic of the NBA draft and salary cap, let's just be clear. There is not one other industry in the world, let alone the United States, where a draft is utilized. Let me be clear. Outside of sports, the only other time a draft is utilized is when they are drafting people to fight in a war. And that has to be voted on by our government, our Senate, our House of Representatives, and the nation has to be behind it. And yet, we've instituted a draft that incentivizes team governors who are struggling to figure out how to win and be competitive in a sport where there's only 29 other teams than your own, right? You want to talk about a level playing field, you only got to compete with 29 other teams. What other industry in this world are there only 29 other competitive businesses? That's it. Only 29. right? You go into roofing. You go into being a lawyer, practicing law, a doctor, medicine. You go into any other industry. There are hundreds to compete with, if not thousands to compete with. And depending upon what level you're at, there might be hundreds or more. But there's this free enterprise where individuals are allowed to compete. And yet in the NBA, it is full on a monopoly that they control that competitive balance. There's only 29 other teams. If your team sucks year after year after year, it's not because there's not enough talent out there. It's not because, hey, these other big market teams are, taking all the good players. No, it's because you suck at your job. You suck at running a team. You suck as a governor. And yet, who has to carry the load? Who is being told you have to foot the bill for somebody being inept at their job? The players. And what type of players? And this is where anti-blackness comes in. Black players. Black players are the ones who have to foot the bill. We now get to decide where you go based upon our situation. So now, no matter how talented you are, no matter how much my organization fails to maximize your potential to win, to gain notoriety, to gain access to resources in terms of endorsements, and being on a national stage to maximize a career span that is only anywhere between 4 to 10 years on average. To play the game of basketball and maximize your body's physical capacity to compete in this industry, you have an extremely short window. And who gets to control that? Who gets to control that? A governor of a team. They get to control where you get to place your career. Whether they suck at their job or not, they control it. Then on top of that, they put a salary cap. Well, hot damn. Not only do you get to control where I start my career and this limited amount of time to develop, but you also get to choose how much money I can make, despite how much money you are making. Name me what other entertainer, what other area of entertainment does anybody tell someone else how much money they can make? And not just how much money they can make, get this. And this is why so many YouTubers are coming out criticizing industries like ESPN and Fox Sports. Because where else do they ever criticize an entertainer for how much money they're making? When was the last time we looked at Tom Cruise and been like, man, that movie really sucked? You shouldn't have made that much money. When was the last time we looked at Angelina Jolie and was like, you made how much money off that movie? I didn't really care for it. I don't know why they paid you that much. They definitely shouldn't give you that much for your next movie. When was the last time we did this to Denzel? When was the last time we did this to any other entertainer? Comedian, Kevin Hart. I didn't like that last special. You shouldn't have made that much money. Who does that? Who does that? When an entertainer is entertaining, they get paid for their value, their full value. I just finished watching this boardroom clip on YouTube. It was a short. And LeBron James was talking about how in his sophomore year of high school, they moved his games to the local university, to a stadium that could seat 6,000 people. And this university was able to sell season tickets for over $100 for his high school games. He did not receive a single penny from that money. Not a penny. Not a penny. And yet, when he was a senior, and not only were they selling his games on pay-per-view, if you lived in the state of Cleveland, Ohio, or if you lived in the state of Ohio, let alone just in Cleveland or even Akron, right? You could watch his games on pay-per-view. Did he receive a penny? No. And then when he was a senior, after his senior season, when he bought a Hummer truck, right? He's grown up in the hood, dirt poor. He has to make sure he does not receive any money. Otherwise, he's going to become ineligible. And then after his senior season, when everybody already knows he's going to the NBA, He buys himself a truck for transportation so he doesn't have to catch rides or catch the bus. And everybody came down on him. Oh my goodness, look at the future of amateur sports. I can't believe this is happening. Everybody wanted to dump on him. When the Cleveland Cavaliers got to draft him, despite not having been able to win a championship at all throughout the entirety of their franchise, right? They get to draft the hometown kid. And when they fail year after year after year, remember, when they drafted him, they had Ricky Davis, they grabbed Carlos Boozer, and a bunch of other guys. They had Darius Miles, they had a whole bunch of talent. They couldn't keep any of it. Ricky Davis was gone. Carlos Boozer, who would later on become a multiple-time All-Star with the Utah Jazz and Chicago Bulls, they couldn't even keep him, who was drafted with LeBron, or the year after, right? His most talented running mate, potentially, in Cleveland, throughout that first tenure, they couldn't even keep him. So by the time he leaves after year 7 and gets tired of dragging this team as far as he could take them, taking all the blame, the organization not getting any of the blame, right? Who gets dumped on? The player, right? The player receives all the onus for the failures of a franchise, for the failures of inept governors, front office individuals, people who only want to look at the bottom line of how much I can profit using tax write-offs, owning the real estate of the land of the stadium, advertisement. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars every single year, right? Off of only basketball related income. This is not even talking about non-basketball related income from just owning the real estate, right? And being able to borrow against that and invest against that, right? All this money that they're making 4 to 6 or more times the amount that they're paying players. And yet ESPN and all these pundits, what do? They turn your attention to how much money the players are making. Then they do the, oh, woe is me as a team governor. If only there was more talent. We need more parity. You know who the bad guy is? It's the Lakers. It's the Knicks. Look at them winning all the time or having all this money. The Boston Celtics, they just win all the time. Oh, poor us. We're never going to get a chance. Yo, you know how many superstars drop out of the top 5 in the draft? You know how many superstars are there for the waiting if they just get a chance? I just did a video on the Toronto Raptors and how Masai Ujiri and his genius figured out, yo, there's so much talent here. It's not about if you can draft a superstar. It's can you develop? If you master your ability to develop talent, you can have a super team. But we have to do our job at a high level. You see, this is such contrary thinking. Because most of these organizations, hey, let's just get a top pick and this guy will carry us. All we got to do is sit back, rake in the money, and it's booming business while we focus on other endeavors. The Toronto Raptors, no wonder they're a governorship that's outside of the United States, right? Operates different. And now they're having this great success. You know, it sucks when you have to see it year after year. Talented players going into bad situations and never getting to maximize their talent. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Oh, I'm pretty sure his endorsements suck. He's in Oklahoma City. Why was Donovan Mitchell trying to get out of Utah? Because he's like, my level of talent should be doing far more and making far more. And I don't know how many more 82-game seasons plus playoffs my body is going to be able to endure with a 35, 40-inch vertical and having to play at 6'2". We all know the tenure for short guards is not as long because the wear and tear on their bodies is just tremendous, right? We know that there's only a short window. And so by the time a guy is trying to force his way out and saying, look, I am not maximizing my potential here, I need to go someplace else, who do we dump on? So not only are we creating caps and saying, hey, you can only make this much and you can only go here, to give governors an opportunity to make even more money off of you, even if it limits how much you can make yourself. You know who's going to get all the blame? You. So right now, when we see this whole Robert Sarver situation, it's so much bigger than just one racist owner. There are institutional dynamics of this league. And let's not even get to the NFL. Oh my God. When we get to the NFL, damn. I mean, talk about plantation mentality. Good old boys club. Oh my goodness. Yo. So the next time you look at your favorite team, you look at a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? How many number one picks do you have to get to keep sucking? Like, how many more number one picks do you have to get before you crawl out of this hole of being inept and ignorant of how to run a team, right? San Antonio's figured it out, right? Toronto's figured it out. The Golden State Warriors has figured it out. How come you can't? Milwaukee lucked out, but is trying to figure it out, even though they're still struggling with actually sustaining winning. Because what young guys do they have in the pipeline that they're developing to ensure that the whole burden is not on Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? That's how the Golden State Warriors are staying so good, is that, yo, we've got young talent coming through that we're developing. We got a Jordan Poole, we got a Jonathan Kuminga. But here's the thing, here's how the salary cap hurts even these teams who figured out how to draft well and develop well, right? It doesn't even allow them to be able to continue to sign the guys that they're bringing in. You see, when we do away with the draft, and it needs to be done away with, when it's done away with and teams can just sign guys outright, they can create their own farm system. They can create just like Major League Soccer does around the world. Just like baseball does around the world. All the other sports around the world. They sign talent. They find talent. They develop that talent. They maximize their opportunities. And then they maintain those guys on their team based upon their own business strategies, right? Instead of asking these governors of these teams to grow up, to learn how to do business in professional sports and entertainment, and stop crying and acting like these black players aren't supposed to carry them and make sure they make 8 to 10 times the amount that they're paying players instead of just 4 to 6, right? Instead of putting the onus on the players who don't have the most power, who aren't making these dominant decisions, right? Instead of us doing that, let's actually understand it for what it is. And let's call a spade a spade. The Robert Sarvers of the NBA, the Donald Sterlings, are only just the tip of the iceberg for anti-blackness and racism that's destroying the integrity of the NBA game. But let me know what you all think. I'm pretty sure you have your own comments and opinions. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Please feel free to leave comments. I definitely respond as much as I can. Holla at y'all next time. Peace.